Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly fascinating. We're going to embark on a journey deep into the invisible biological machinery that is running just beneath the surface of your everyday human experience. We're going to decode the complex, hidden systems that dictate exactly how you recover, how you age, and ultimately, how you feel every single day.
It all really comes down to one central question, and it's a question that absolutely drives longevity researchers and sleep scientists right now. What invisible biological forces are shaping the quality of my life every single day? We so often look at health as just this random collection of isolated habits, right? You've got your diet, your exercise, your sleep schedule, but beneath all those separate habits lies a deeply, deeply interconnected operating system. Today, we're going to look at some incredible clinical data revealing how a surprisingly simple physical act can literally reprogram this operating system for profound restorative rest and long-term flourishing. But to understand the solution, we first need to figure out the glitch in the system.
I want you to picture a scenario, and honestly, it's incredibly common and highly frustrating. You finally get into bed. You are completely, utterly, physically exhausted from a long day. Your muscles ache, your body feels like lead, but your mind is just racing. You are mentally wired. You're experiencing this intense, high cortical arousal right alongside somatic muscle tension. So why does this happen? Well, throughout your day, whether you're walking, standing, or literally just sitting hunched over a desk, your skeletal muscles are undergoing continuous mechanical testing and microcontraction. But at the exact same time, your brain has been processing endless, non-stop stimuli. And here's the catch. Without a physical transitional bridge to link the two, you end up trapped in this awful modern paradox. You are literally too tired to move, but way too wired to actually sleep. Part 1. Your hidden operating system.
Okay, so to break this frustrating cycle, we need to look under the hood. We have to examine where our ancient evolutionary survival mechanisms are actively clashing with our modern high-stress environments. Enter the default mode network, or the DMN. Imagine a sprawling, incredibly busy switchboard inside your brain, heavily involving the medial prefrontal cortex. It fires up and becomes highly active during passive rest. It's responsible for self-reflection, moral reasoning, and emotional processing. Normally, as you start drifting into deep sleep, the frontal regions of this network naturally decouple. They power down, allowing you to actually lose conscious awareness. But here is the critical, mind-blowing discovery from clinical neuroimaging. In people experiencing insomnia or high stress, this network absolutely fails to deactivate. It stays hyperconnected. So you're lying there in bed, and your DMN just keeps feeding you self-referential worries, completely blocking the onset of sleep.
And this perfectly illustrates the biological tug-of-war happening inside you every night. Look at these markers. When you're stuck in sympathetic dominance, that's your fight-or-flight threat state, your heart rate is elevated, your stress hormone cortisol is high, and as we just saw, your DMN is hyperactive. To sleep, you absolutely must shift into parasympathetic dominance, the safety state. Over here, your heart rate slows, cortisol is suppressed, and the DMN finally powers down. But here's the thing. You cannot simply think your way into this safety state. It doesn't work. You have to pull a physical lever hidden inside your body to make it happen. The big question is, where is that lever?
Part 2. The vagus nerve bridge.
That physical lever we're looking for, it's the vagus nerve. This is the hidden anatomical mechanism that directly connects your physical behavior to profound nervous system regulation. And what is truly staggering about its anatomy is this one number, 75%. We typically assume our brain is always the boss, right? The one barking orders down to our body. But in reality, approximately 75% of the nerve fibers within the vagus nerve are sensory afferents. All that means is they're acting as a massive information highway, sending continuous physiological data upward, from your peripheral organs, your myofascial tissues, straight up into the brainstem. Your body is constantly, in real time, reporting its status up to your brain.
So, how do we hack this reporting system? It's brilliantly simple. Targeted, gentle stretching. When you engage in low-intensity muscle elongation, you are physically pulling on muscle fibers and connective tissues. This stimulates little sensors called local mechanoreceptors, and these receptors instantly send somatosensory feedback right up those vagal nerve pathways. They are literally whispering to your brainstem, "Hey, the muscles are relaxed. There's no tiger chasing us right now. We are totally safe." And that triggers a biological cascade that forcefully downregulates the threat arousal systems in your brain, slowing your heart rate and effectively forcing that parasympathetic shift.
Part 3. The science of somo downtraining.
This whole process brings us to a concept called somato-down training. And listen, this isn't just about getting a little more flexible for your yoga class. This is about utilizing neuroscientifically validated protocols to actively manipulate your autonomic nervous system right before you go to bed. And actually, we need to correct a massive myth right here. So many people think that if they just completely exhaust themselves with a really late, intense gym session, it'll guarantee a good night's sleep. But the data shows the exact opposite. Vigorous evening exercise actually elevates your core body temperature, your heart rate, and your sympathetic tone. Studies clearly show that intense exercise too close to bedtime can actively lower your sleep efficiency. Conversely, low-intensity static stretching selectively promotes that parasympathetic safety state without demanding extra work from your heart and lungs. It resolves the musculoskeletal strain from your day without triggering a brand new threat response.
The clinical data backing this up is just staggering. A landmark scoping review evaluating chronic stretching interventions across various sleep disorders found that patients didn't just casually report feeling a little better. They experienced structural transformations in their sleep architecture. Look at this. Total sleep time surged by nearly 15%. Insomnia severity plummeted, and the amount of time spent awake in the middle of the night decreased dramatically. Remember, this isn't some new pharmaceutical intervention we're looking at. This is purely the mechanical manipulation of the body yielding profound neurological results.
And that mechanical manipulation cascades into systemic, whole body health. A bedtime stretching routine doesn't just help you sleep, it fundamentally alters your biochemistry. It triggers a massive drop in cortisol. It increases your high-frequency heart rate variability, which is a direct, measurable sign your vagus nerve is firing and your body is entering deep recovery. It even shifts your hormone ratios to favor nocturnal cellular repair. But honestly, the most fascinating part? This physical stimulation targets very specific receptors on your immune cells, actively suppressing inflammatory proteins. Think about that. You are literally stretching away systemic inflammation. Part 4. Training the skill of sleep. Realizing all of this requires a total paradigm shift in how we view rest. As a recent paper in Frontiers in Sleep profoundly noted, sleep is not just a biological function. It is a neurocognitive skill involving motor control, emotional regulation, and cognitive training. Sleep is not just something you cross your fingers and hope happens to you. It is a trainable ability. Just like you can build a mobility program or a strength training routine, you can actively train your nervous system to downregulate through repetition and deliberate routine. Now, the ultimate amplifier for your stretching routine is your breath. If you time a quiet nasal inhale to exactly 5 seconds, and then a slow exhale to exactly 5 seconds, you hit a very specific frequency, 0.1 hertz. And at this exact rhythm, something magical happens. Your biology synchronizes. Your heart rate matches your blood pressure oscillations. This floods your brainstem with massive safety signals, completely silencing that hyperactive default mode network we talked about earlier. So, the absolutely crucial point here is how you track your time while stretching in the evening. If you're in a gym, you might stare at a clock on the wall and count to 30 seconds. Do not do this before bed. Active counting keeps your brain cognitively engaged. It feeds the DMN. Instead, you want to shift to internal interoceptive awareness. Time your stretches by counting those slow breath cycles. This turns off the external clock watching, it deepens the biological safety signal, and it finally gives your brain permission to just rest. Part 5. The interconnected biology of health. As we pull all of these pieces together, a breathtakingly clear picture begins to emerge about how our bodies actually work. Look at this incredible chain of events. It starts so simply. Mechanical stretching signals autonomic safety to your brain. That safety signal allows you to enter deep, restorative sleep. That deep sleep then restores your neuroendocrine function and balances your hormones, which in turn influences your mood and behavior. Meanwhile, that heightened vagal tone is actively suppressing systemic inflammation. And over the course of years and decades, that reduced inflammation promotes long-term cognitive longevity and cellular health. The incredibly simple act of gently pulling on a muscle echoes across decades of cellular aging. Which leads us to this massive, overarching realization. Health is not a collection of separate, isolated habits. It is the emergent result of countless interconnected biological processes occurring every moment of every single day. By understanding the hidden operating system beneath your skin, by using movement and breath to directly signal safety to your nervous system, you aren't just preparing for a slightly better night's sleep, you are actively altering the entire trajectory of your cognitive longevity and your cellular aging. So tonight, when you step away from the relentless marathon of your day, ask yourself, are you just going to hope that sleep somehow finds you? Or are you ready to master the invisible operating system that dictates the rest of your life?